chest up, shoulders back. This is Revival Fitness, and it's almost 11 p.m., and I was about to have my final meal and be like, oh, I'm gonna get to bed tonight at a reasonable hour. Yeah, so much for that. But we have yet another chapter in the israetel PhD saga. This time we are talking about Jeff Nippard again, and Solomon has torched his ass very badly. Rightfully so. Let's react to that video, but first, obligatory, #revival was right. I told you guys a couple months ago now at this point, maybe even before that, I completely lost it with Jeff when he went to the defense of the fake natty mafia. In the way that he did it specifically, because it was so obvious with the politicking, with the gaslighting, with the completely unscientific reasoning and methods that he used. He really just doesn't care. Some of you may think that Jeff Nippard cares about this or about you. He's one of the good guys, apparently, you may think. If you ask me, he's a very bad liar.
A few people pointed to subject number 5's quads.
Yeah, they're big as hell.
A little suspicious, but I got in a leg workout with him, and I definitely think he earned those quads naturally.
Okay, so that's the criteria, Jeff. I worked out with him one time. Mr. Science, okay.
Now with that in mind, let's take a look at the blood results.
Okay, like I said, we're getting them all drawn for blood. All we saw was Julian walk into the little doctor's office with big quotation marks around it, and all their blood work is available, apparently. Like, guys, if you cannot see the problem with this and why this is not valid, you're beyond help.
This is a table for realistic rates of muscle gain in men from my textbook, The Muscle Ladder.
Okay, Jeff, cite your own textbook.
Which I wrote before I knew who Hussein was.
Oh, that's good.
I said that most men will gain 10 to 25 pounds of lean mass in their first year of lifting.
Dude, I'm getting really fucking tired of Jeff. He said lean mass just a second ago. Right here, he says muscle gain. Muscle gain and lean mass gain are not the same thing. He did this in the last video. He did this in the 1-year transformation with his brother too. Based on what I've seen, I'm sure he does this all the time. You cannot be conflating these terms. Yet again, dude, the paragon of science, he can't even use consistent terminology when talking about pure muscle versus lean mass. This is ridiculous.
And his transformation, while suspicious, is possible.
Okay, they must have paid Jeff a lot of money for this. I'm sure he got a very handsome sum. But holy shit, man.
Before you jump to any conclusions, just take a look at this photo. This is Melvin Wells, and this photo was taken in 1949.
So we have a really muscular black guy from 80 years ago or so. So don't jump to conclusions, guys.
I'm sure this goes without saying, but Ronnie was way bigger than Julian.
Jeff, Jesus Christ, man. This is pathetic, seriously. Dude, this guy Jeff is cooked. He's completely done. I can't take him seriously on anything anymore. Anything at all. I refuse to. Like this display of intellectualism, well, reverse intellectualism from him the past month or so. It's irredeemable.
I'm not sure if this part is common sense or not. Maybe it depends on how long you've been around gym culture.
Jeff, you've displayed no common sense at all. All you've done is gaslight and use poor arguments and conflate terms. You're a fucking idiot. So I had called out some odd things he'd said prior to that point, but that for me completely invalidated him, as it should have for anybody, because that was totally indefensible. But plenty of people still, of course, were like, oh no, Jeff's one of the good guys, bro. I guess he just fell for it. Yeah, because Jeff Nippard, similar to israetel, he's apparently so smart, so knowledgeable, so intelligent. He just happened to fall for the fact that, oh, these guys said they're natural and they must be. He just believes them. He gave them the benefit of the doubt. Yeah, you mean he orchestrated that lie with them and promoted it with them. And I guess it's going to take this, but more people now are going to finally wake up to the fraud that Jeff Nippard is too. It's not simply Mike Israetel, and it's not like Jeff is kind of on the outskirts like, oh, well, we don't know for sure, you know, but to kind of trust him. He's done. He's completely cooked. And also keep in mind too, now you're going to see guys across the industry turn on Jeff too, because this is the green light for them. The coast is now clear. This video is at 50,000 views in just over 4 hours at the time of this recording. This could hit 1 million views as well, or get pretty close. So all these guys now that are friendly with Jeff and kind of trying to get into his inner circle, for, you know, little buddy bullshit, they're going to turn on him now, because this video has given them permission to do so. Keep that in mind too. I told you guys months ago, I did not sugarcoat it. I said Jeff is full of shit. He's a pseudoscientist. He's a liar. He's a fraud. I told you guys right whenever the fake natty mafia thing happened from the onset. These other guys did not. Now they're gonna come on here and be like, oh, well, yeah, I can't in good faith support Jeff anymore. They're full of shit too. Do not fall for it. Do not let them forget it. But in the wake of the Israetel files dropping, you guys probably saw, we're gonna see in Solomon's video too, Jeff defended Mike on Instagram in 2 comments that he since has deleted, and he recently tried to skate through it, and he posted this picture of him on his birthday. It has over 160,000 likes. First muscle lab study is underway. Min-max program is pre-launched. Post-workout sushi with Steph is loading, and today's my B-day. Life is good. Prayer emoji. And rightfully so in the comments, a lot of people are calling him out, including myself. I said, admit you were wrong about Solomon. Oh right, you can't, because you're in bed with Israetel. Which has been painfully obvious for a while now. Some people still can't seem to wrap their heads around that. But Solomon seems to have come to that full realization himself.
Mike Israetel has officially responded to my recent viral video, in which I single-handedly unearthed what has turned out to be an academic scandal.
Scandal is not an exaggeration, guys. I mean, people are still commenting, oh bro, who cares? Get over it. Not that big of a deal. Overreacting. Guys, this is one of the biggest events in the history of this industry, realistically, as well as, I mean, in academia, too. It's a massive event. Just broadly speaking, the people trying to downplay this are feckless defenders of Mike, because nobody actually academically minded, or simply honest people in general that simply consume the content. You cannot know this is happening and know the context and the details and be like, oh, it's not a big deal. They tried to doctor an entirely new draft all these years later, and then they got caught doing that because they're still so sloppy. Common theme among these guys, right? And I would assume that Israetel got some very angry phone calls from his alma mater, including his mentor. I would at least hope that he did, because he made all of them, he made the entire school look terrible. He threw all of them under the bus.
We now know Solomon was looking at an accidentally uploaded incorrect rough draft.
I've lied. I've lied a lot.
I guess technically I submitted the wrong draft to the graduate school.
Yeah, I mean, yet again, guys, if you actually fell for this, I just wish you the best of luck in life, because you are so naive and so gullible. I mean, look at his face, bro. Look at his face. My dog ate my homework, bro.
Lying is easy as hell. I can do it at the drop of a hat.
A lot of people had rallied behind Mike, denouncing me as a fool who had read and reviewed the wrong version, as if I somehow hadn't exercised due caution with my library skills. Jeff Nippard, the self-proclaimed scientist, was among them. A gullible Jeff Nippard rashly assumed that Dr. Mike must be genuine, that his concocted, cleaned-up thesis must have been the correct one.
This is another key point, guys. I talked about it when it came to Nippard defending the fake natty mafia, as well as Mike's defense of Jeff defending them. There's 2 options here when it comes to all these scenarios. Same with Jeff here. He's either that gullible and that naive, like I just mentioned, I guess he did upload the wrong draft. That's kind of crazy, bro. I guess those guys are natural despite being bigger than me within 2 to 3 years of training. Or he knows what's actually happening and he's playing dumb. Yet again, if you cannot obviously see it's the latter, you need help.
It should have been obvious to anyone with a sense of logic that Mike's story was improbable. Coach Greg called it immediately. Thousands of people on the internet began to see red flag after red flag in the clean copy that was supposed to replace the crap version that I'd reviewed.
This is great too, isn't it? Because this is so bad. Greg Doucette now looks like a good guy again in the industry. It was only a few weeks ago everybody was so tired of Greg Doucette and oh my god, this guy is a circus, what a clown. He's doing this lying about lying thing, everybody's sick of him and Hussein. Now Coach Greg is one of the best guys again, he calls out the BS. Because Mike's story and everything surrounding this was so full of shit. Now even someone like Greg can regain public confidence over this. And of course he's going to make a bunch of content and make money, rightfully so. Go ahead. But that's where we are, guys. Like, this industry is so fucked at this point. Even someone like Greg can stand and look like one of the best people in the industry.
It was obvious to everyone with a clear cognitive capacity that Mike's story didn't wash. Even Mike could eventually see it and fessed up.
Which also begs the question, why would you tell that lie in the first place? Because you think they would have the foresight to realize it was that bad. Mr. 160 plus IQ.
As a teenage lifter, I was a huge admirer of Jeff's. He was, at one point, my favorite content creator.
He is for, you could say, the vast majority of people that consume fitness content.
However, I grew disillusioned with him. On the 6th of January 2024, a 24-year-old Solomon Nelson released a video critiquing Jeff Nippard's bench press specialization program.
The Impossible workout calls for 4 sets of 6 reps at 85% of 1 rep max.
Maybe for the first set, you could get 6 out, and that 6 rep is in all likelihood going to be very, very difficult. A complete struggle. And then you have 3 more sets. And it says %1 RM 85. There's nothing lower than that. The chances of somebody being able to do this, even if they're extremely advanced or on steroids or whatever you want to throw into it, if they're bulking or anything, realistically, that's impossible. If you want to be very, very generous, it would be remarkably difficult. Like, you would not be able to do this consistently if you managed to do it at all.
Hilariously, 2 of the 3 references in the calculator that Jeff Nippard provides in his book on pages 64 to 65 suggest that 5 reps is the absolute maximum number of reps you can perform at 85% of 1 rep max, with the 3rd reference on the table suggesting that you can perform 6 reps at 85% of 1 rep max.
Keep in mind too, guys, when it comes to these sort of tables and charts and estimators, they're usually going to overestimate just as a general rule. If you go off of what these say, and you try for PR attempts based on your current output, usually you're going to fail that lift. Not always, but I'd say more often than not. I've experienced this, many people have too. They're usually going to overshoot you to some degree.
Even Dr. Pak Androulakis Korakakis, whom Jeff has interviewed.
Is that Pak's real name? I've never actually watched that guy's content. I've heard the name though. He was running feckless cover for Mike too. I think he's uploaded and deleted multiple YouTube videos as well. But did he just say Oculus Staphylococcus? Corlococcus? Isn't that some type of infection?
Has a chart that you can download from his website, which suggests that you can only do 5 to 6 reps at 85% of 1 rep max. Jeff's program asks you to train to or even beyond failure with 0 performance loss across 4 sets.
Yeah, that is not going to happen at all.
I really have no words for how incredibly poorly this workout is designed. I mean, it is quite literally impossible by design, whether Jeff intended it to be or not.
Well, yet again, Mr. Science, big brain Jeff. Did he simply have that as an oversight? Oh, I forgot, bro, I typed the wrong thing. Or does he just really not understand? And on top of that, too, he just does not care that much. He obviously did not put that much thought into this, if this is something he published.
I mentioned Pak Androulakis Korakakis.
Oh, yet another bald guy with a big beard. Do we need more of these guys in the industry?
His recent reference to executing Order 66 on me is a staggering lapse in professional judgment.
But I believe Order 66 is a reference to Jason Genova. He was popular with the Del Rey Misfits, and I believe he's mentally handicapped. Like, actually, not using that as a meme like so many people do, actually mentally handicapped. And I think he said that whenever he wanted to, in satire, attack somebody. He misspelled his name, Soul Man Nilsson. That's intentional.
They call us influencers, but where were they when we were Order 66ing Rich Piana's ex-wife in the comments back in the good day?
And there you see him right there. He's in the RP studio with Dr. Mike. I've heard Dr. Mike shout this guy out in videos too. So he's part of the team as well. He's one of the lapdogs that had to run cover for Daddy Mike, and he did so terribly. Totally embarrassed himself without latching their asses onto Mike Israetel and RP in general. They would probably be just other small channels that not many people have heard about. They could get some clients and some business and stuff, but they would be nowhere near the level they're at now. That's why they have to kiss Mike's ass all the time, and that's why they had to run cover for him the way they did. It's all politics, like I told you guys.
Shout out Jason Genova.
To invoke a meme synonymous with the cruel, coordinated cyberbullying of a famously vulnerable individual who no longer wants to be in the public eye is not some clever inside joke. It's a standard of discourse we expect from anonymous trolls, not scholars with PhDs.
I don't have high academic credentials, and guys, you know me, I don't pretend to be like some prim and proper, very polite person. I talk plenty of shit myself, so I can't really cast aspersions here. That said, if you do have a PhD and you carry yourself as an academic, this also applies to Mike too. He's always making all these gay jokes, and he's always trying to do these little stand-up open mic bits in his videos. A lot of unscientific logic, language, all this other stuff from these guys. At least to Nippard's credit, he tends to be more kind of on the science in his content. To some extent, not really well, but he at least tries. Israetel, he doesn't even try.
Then at least do the qualification the honour of behaving like a decent person. My advice to Pak: you lacked prudence, and your intervention was childish and undignified. I nevertheless look forward to your next appearance on Jeff Nippard's channel.
There you see. Look who he's right next to. Milo Sheep. So, these guys are all friends. They're all in the same clique. Like I told you guys.
I assumed that my critique of Jeff's program would get no traction and quickly be forgotten, which it basically did. And had it not been for Jeff's recent provocations, things probably would have stayed that way. But to my amazement, within a day or two of posting my critique of his program, I got a reply from Jeff Nippard himself. On screen is my comment exchange with Jeff about his bench press specialization program.
Alright, Jeff says, "Hey Solomon, I appreciate the critical feedback. This is one of my older programs and I agree that it needs an update. The main thing IMO is that the percentages are a bit too high for sure. This isn't a huge deal. If you adhere to RPE guidelines and TBH, most people running this program are not advanced enough that the sets would be impossible. Still, I'm going to adjust the numbers. Cheers, man." Now, you could argue, why would Jeff comment on... I think Solomon's channel, when this was released, had, a few thousand subscribers? Very, very small in the grand scheme of things. But Jeff has the common sense to be like, okay, I could simply not talk about this, but I know enough people are going to see it, even if it's only 10,000 or so. I think the video is 20,000 plus at this point, but Jeff knows, hey, I can go in there, put out this small fire, and say, hey, it was an old program, I got to change things up, nice critique, thanks, man. So, this makes sense. Politically speaking, good move here from Jeff.
I dismantled Jeff's defense.
Oh my god, look at this wall of text.
I also challenged his contradictory claim that most people running this program are not advanced enough for it to be impossible, reminding him that the program was explicitly advertised and sold to intermediate and advanced trainees.
Awesome stuff, big brain Jeff.
However, I was so starstruck that the great Jeff Nippard decided to grace my small channel that I decided to send him an email offering to review his other programs privately and free of charge, because I genuinely wanted to help him put out better, more scientifically accurate information.
This is great, isn't it? Even though Jeff is supposedly the bastion of science and knowledge, he needs a small no-name YouTuber at the time to help make his programs make sense. Does that not tell you everything you need to know about these guys?
After a few months of waiting for a reply that never came, I decided I'd keep reviewing his bad programs publicly. The second of Jeff's bad training programs that I critiqued publicly was his so-called women's specialization program. I released my critique on the 27th of May, 2024.
If you've got room to progress in weight or reps, and yet you're always lifting the exact same weights for the exact same reps, then by definition, you'll eventually be doing junk volume.
Correct.
But if this type of volume dominates your routine, you might have a hard time getting past the beginner to early intermediate stage.
The answer is 54. No well-conducted study hitherto has demonstrated statistically significant benefits in going that high.
Did he just say 54 total sets per week in this program?
Stephanie claims on her website that the women's specialization is backed by science.
Well, of course.
This claim is false. How Jeff and Stephanie got from greater than or equal to 10 weekly sets for optimal growth to their prescription of 54 weekly sets for the glutes is simply beyond me.
Even now on modern sort of normie girl butt workout Instagram, I don't think you'd even see that. That's beyond parody in of itself. I think the closest thing to that was that study, 52 sets a week, they were all running around talking about last year, or sometime earlier this year.
As with my critique of Jeff Nippard's bench press specialization program, within a day or two of posting my critique, Jeff Nippard left another comment. A much longer comment this time around. In Jeff's comment, he expressed significant respect for my feedback, crediting my first video critique directly for prompting a much needed and a lot better update to his bench press specialization program. Jeff then conceded that the women's specialization program is also deeply flawed and requires a complete overhaul, agreeing that the volume is too high, the frequency is too high. Jeff attributed these significant design errors to the program being very old and to a period where he was, in his own words, massively overestimating how advanced his audience was.
Okay, I'm reading the top of this comment here. It says, a bit of background. Around 2015 to 2017, my audience was actually very niche and advanced. That's around when I was doing those interviews with Lyle and company. My info was almost entirely geared toward advanced/competitive lifters. Natural bodybuilders, bikini athletes, and competitive powerlifters were my target audience. Okay, sure, but that does not justify 54 sets per week for any muscle group. Even recommending half of that is absurd.
Jeff explained that at the time, his programming decisions were largely in line with the prevailing high-volume trend promoted by many science guys. Jeff noted that during this period, he was interviewing figures like my friend Lyle McDonald. He highlighted that, interestingly, Lyle's perspective was one of the few cutting against high-volume training at this time.
Lyle would never recommend that, nor would anybody who is remotely honest or intelligent.
A view that contrasts with the flawed approach he chose to follow for the program. While briefly attempting to justify the extreme volumes by referencing a recent study and his own positive customer anecdotes.
There it is, guys. You see, 52 sets per week. He even had the PMID, so I guess this study was out then? I thought it was much more recent. Maybe they just found it in the past and dug it up and were like, hey, look at this.
He ultimately reiterated his agreement with my assessment that it is too much. Jeff also asserted that he didn't plagiarize Lyle McDonald, explaining that as a long-time fan of Lyle's work, and someone who was also working for him on an affiliate basis.
Oh, that's an interesting wrinkle in this story. Well, that's long gone, I take it.
Any similarities are coincidental. As well as leaving a comment, Jeff sent me an email expressing interest in the thought of me reviewing his training programs in my capacity as an expert consultant. Following my critique, Jeff Nippard initiated contact to engage my consulting services. We began with a preliminary 1-hour review of an old program. The feedback I provided was received very positively. Jeff immediately proposed a significantly larger and more complex project with a much broader scope. Ultimately, we reached a mutually agreeable arrangement. Several months later, I was approached by Jeff Nippard's team for a second, time-sensitive consulting project. In both instances, I was contracted for my expertise, delivered high-quality work on schedule, and received positive feedback from Jeff Nippard himself. Our relationship was that of a professional consultant and a satisfied client.
That in of itself is interesting, isn't it? Jeff hired this guy to do major consulting for him based off of a couple YouTube videos and some comments. Mind you, he was correct in those evaluations of Jeff's programs. Like, no one else in his circle? Did he consult with none of them? Did none of them point this out to him?
Remember that comment Jeff left on my critique of his women's specialization program? One day I checked the comments section.
I'm sure it was deleted.
Noticed that it was gone. On the 9th of April 2025, shortly after noticing, I decided to initiate an email exchange with Jeff by politely inquiring about how the comment, which I characterized as thoughtful and conciliatory, had disappeared. I asked if Jeff had, by any chance, deleted it. In his response, which came a mere day later, Jeff denied removing the comment, stating, I definitely didn't delete it.
He didn't delete it, and he put the little thinking emoji, too. Yeah, okay. It says maybe YouTube flagged it or something. That is possible. YouTube will auto-delete comments all the time. It's happened to me. It happens to all kinds of people. You ever leave a comment somewhere, and then if you scroll back down 2 minutes later, it's gone? That happens all the time on this platform. That said, his comment was there for many months. In a case like that, very unlikely it's going to get deleted by YouTube automatically.
He then speculated that YouTube itself might have been responsible. I promptly replied, graciously accepting Jeff's explanation at face value, with, no worries at all, I believe you. When Jeff Nippard's thoughtful and conciliatory comment on my critique video vanished, it naturally raised some questions. How often does a perfectly constructive comment from a major creator simply disappear?
If I can play devil's advocate for Jeff here, just to do so as a thought experiment, it is possible because YouTube is always updating the keywords and the auto flag things, but the comment he left, no profanity, nothing that could even be interpreted as like violent or anything similar, very, very unlikely, especially like I said, if it's been up on the video itself for a while. Essentially, if YouTube does not auto-delete the comment within a couple minutes, it's not going to do so at all.
Jeff Nippard made 2 public responses to my critique of Mike Israetel's PhD thesis. The first, dated 4th of October 2025, read, "Bro was out here adding semicolons to Mike's rough draft from 13 years ago, thinking he did something."
This is the one that I saw too, and displayed in my recent videos. It's like this mix of straw manning and gaslighting, and also he's accusing him of something he didn't do, adding semicolons, and as if that's all he did in that video. Classic manipulation from Jeff, and of course you can see that Israetel likes that comment, similar to how Mike commented on Jeff's video about the fake natty mafia and said how he was so principled the entire time, when he clearly was not. These two are in bed with each other. God knows what they do in there. I would assume Jeff is on top, based on the way Mike talks. But these two are intertwined.
Jeff then left this comment on a later post by Mike Israetel. Solomon trying to play off his Reddit-brained, parasocial, anti-fan hit piece as a good faith attempt to help fix the way administrators archive their papers is pretty funny.
I did not see that one. Wow. That's crazy. I mean, that's the manipulation of the first one on Tren, like cranked up 100 times.
Jeff has since deleted both comments.
Shocker.
Shortly after leaving his semicolons comment, Jeff Nippard contacted me to request the removal of a line in my channel description that he felt implied a current client relationship. I responded by offering to amend the line to reflect accurately that Jeff is a past client. Jeff declined this offer and asked that his name be removed entirely.
The way Jeff writes is so estrogenic. To be honest, I'd rather not be mentioned. You did some editing on a program over a year ago, a program I didn't end up releasing actually. I agree with your training advice almost universally, but I don't align with a lot of the drama and gossip stuff you do. Yeah, just rather you remove my name. Thanks. He should have put a smiley face after that shit.
After confirming his identity via Instagram direct messages, Jeff reiterated his request for his name to be removed entirely.
Jeff says, I don't think negotiating this makes sense. Maybe I gave you permission to use my likeness for promotion, but I can't remember doing that.
He followed this with a long, unsolicited message detailing his personal grievances.
Your most public associations since our very brief time working together have been with Greg, who has spent nearly a decade relentlessly bullying my partner, yeah, there you go, Jeff, and to a lesser extent me, online. Yes, in spite all of that, Jeff, you still defended Greg's golden boy, Hussein, to the laughable degree that you did. Because you, Jeff, are a spineless bitch. Greg also constantly peddles bunk supplements like testosterone. Well, that is true. He doesn't even really deny it at this point, does he? He still gets all those sales. Greg is like in a league of his own. He just straight up laughs in his audience faces and sells them stuff like testosterone, and they still buy it. It's kind of incredible. I will say, Solomon, if you are hanging out with Greg and you want to, uphold this whole thing, you're going to have to call him if you haven't already on the bullshit that he does. You can't call out somebody prominent like Mike and like Jeff, but then let Greg Doucette skate through at the same time. That doesn't work, and undermines science regularly. Well, you do that as well, Jeff, as does your daddy Mike. Lyle, your other close collaborator, and I are not on good terms. He cut me off at least 5 to 6 years ago, for no apparent reason, and not in a nice way at all. Recently, he sent a harassing email received by my mom, who manages my web email. Oh, Jeff's mom does his email work. She's the secretary. It's a family affair.
Before asking for the communication to be kept private. I didn't engage with the personal grievances outlined in Jeff's direct messages, and instead merely informed Jeff via email that I had updated my channel's description accurately and factually to state, in fact, Jeff Nippard is a past client of mine.
Yeah, that's something you would reasonably advertise with. That makes sense.
Very funny, Jeff, because it's as if I should have known that the thesis published to the learned community on East Tennessee State University's official website was just a rough draft.
This alone made no sense from the get-go. It would be like if you got a newspaper and read an article in it, and then you critiqued it, then the newspaper said, actually, that wasn't the final version of the story, but you published it in your official publication. I mean, that lie from the onset was so preposterous, and all of Mike's fanboys, and his associates too, they ran with it. Oh, he uploaded the wrong one, bro. It happens. It just is something that was a mistake, and Mike tried to play it off like he does everything. Oh, I goofed on my end. Whoops. Haha. Please believe me. And of course he had Milo Sheep make that entire garbage hour-long so-called official statement replying to this. And he said in that video well over a dozen times, he responded to an earlier draft. So even Milo Sheep, who is the seemingly head lapdog at the RP team, he got thrown under the bus even despite that entire video production and that staged interview and all the cover he tried to run. That shows you guys what these people really value. There's no honor among thieves, or in this case among shills. Milo did all of that, and Mike still made him look like a complete fucking idiot, more than he even could himself. And Mike just didn't care.
How the hell did scientist Jeff know that the originally uploaded text of Mike's thesis was just a rough draft?
That's a fair question, too. I'm sure Jeff would say, oh, Mike told me as soon as it happened, and I believed him. That would be the entire story. Yet again, if you think Jeff is so gullible that he actually believed that, you need help yet again. Or actually, what you need is a timeshare.
He hadn't seen the verified, date-stamped metadata confirming the claim that in 2013, a clean version of the thesis went to examination. No one had seen proof that such a virgin draft existed.
Hey, Scott, he said virgin. You know it's not a virgin.
It was obvious to Coach Greg, who said that the story about the draft sounded mighty improbable.
Well, obviously, to anybody that's above the age of, 13? Or that is not just totally low IQ. Also, too, Solomon, I gotta say this again. If you want to have this entire, upholding integrity thing going on with your channel, you're gonna have to call out Greg if you haven't. This is not debatable. Even if you guys are on good terms and friendly or whatever, you cannot let Greg skate through all the shit he's been part of recently or in the past. You can't do it. If he's on your good side, because of the content and stuff, I understand, but you cannot have it both ways.
Scientists don't make that kind of leap. They remain agnostic until persuaded by firm evidence.
They should, yeah. And yet again, this shows you what these guys are really like and what they're about and what their motives are. Every single day, science, 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 science. They're about politics and emotions. That's what they're about. And business.
Scientist Jeff imagined that he could make fun of a critic thinking he did something by digging up an antique and pointing out minor errors, as if the undertaking is just frivolous.
He's pissed off, man, you can tell. And it's totally justified too, especially given the fact he had done business with Jeff in the past, and you would think were on good terms. I mean, Jeff essentially stabbed him in the back. That's really what he did. It's happened to me as well, I get it. Yeah, he has the right to be upset.
Well, the frivolity falls back on Jeff. His peremptory intervention was hollow, shallow, without substance, and foolish. He thought that he could dismiss criticism for reasons that don't stand up. He scoffed at something that he either didn't understand or misrepresented.
Obviously the latter.
Jeff the scientist had become emotionally involved. His interventions on social media seem uncharacteristically unhinged, as if some inner fury had finally got to him.
It's not some inner fury, man. I mean, I don't know how much he's done similar things in the past, but Israetel is, you could say, the biggest name in the industry. Jeff is friendly with him. He ran to his defense quickly. That's just what happens.
Solomon trying to play off his Reddit-brained, parasocial, anti-fan hit piece as a good faith attempt to help fix the way administrators archive their papers is pretty funny. What an extraordinarily incoherent broadside. What did he mean by Reddit-brained, parasocial, anti-fan hit piece?
He's using buzzwords to get people to like the comment and try to appear funny. That's all that was.
Jeff seems to be seething over something that he thinks is psychopathic. He feels under pressure to make my video seem extra mean and deranged. Only he doesn't quite know what he wants to say, and so his words don't make sense.
Yeah, he has nothing to say. He's simply trying to do what most people in the comment section do. He should have put the dead rose and the heartbreak emoji while he was at it. He should have called you a hater too, and a clout chaser. That's the complete version of the comment section low IQ people. I also forgot too, huge news for the unemployed, and these people always comment as soon as the video gets released. So, are they employed?
The concern for the systems that are meant to uphold academic standards was consistent throughout my video. It hasn't been tacked on subsequently to represent the video as something that it isn't. That element about quality control was always there.
He is right about that. He did not really embellish or fabricate or exaggerate anything in his video. It was all laid out right there. People that try to claim otherwise are liars and gaslighters.
The critique of that system remains. If anything, it's the reverse of what Jeff implies. In my video, I cast doubt on the system that had failed from beginning to end.
Yeah, and this is something Milo Sheep also talked about at the end of his garbage video. He was like, exercise science needs to be supported, and the systems that are part of it do need to be critiqued. He said something like that. I forget the exact wording of that insufferable clown, that complete shill. But he essentially proved Solomon right, because Solomon said the same thing in his video, like we need to have more rigorous standards for this entire process. And then Milo says the same thing, not realizing he's agreeing with Solomon. That guy Milo Sheep, he is a fucking idiot. I've only seen a little bit of his content, but I've seen all I need to. He is pathetic.
What has happened to the mild man of fitness, the docile dude, championing rationality and good empirical method? Something in the air over Mike Israetel seems to have got to him.
Something in the air. Yeah, you could smell it. It smells like dollar bills.
He's lost his composure. His interventions are gratuitous and garbled. He didn't have to become involved. This was never about him. So why did he feel this sudden zeal to write nasty, polemical distortions?
Because he's in bed with Mike, and whether Mike texted him first or Jeff texted him, they probably have a group chat with the other guys too. They were like, holy shit, we have to start defending this right away. And they all did. And Jeff did his part, which was more minor compared to the others. But even Instagram comments in an account as big as his, that does play a part in the damage control and the public relations battle.
Is he panicking over some kind of fear or resentment? Or just missing the attention?
I don't think I'd say it's panic outright, but he is close to Mike. So Mike's credibility getting damaged hurts Jeff. And also, too, I'm sure Jeff is receiving some type of payment from Mike in some capacity, whether it's on a regular basis or on like a contract basis. I'm sure that's happening behind the scenes too.
The first project involved a smaller review that was so well received that it led immediately to a much larger engagement involving the detailed analysis of multiple programs for a significant commercial publication.
This is really damning for Jeff because he's trying to write off Solomon now as like, oh, that troll, that drama guy. So he implicitly, trusted this guy with a lot of his own work. Very, very bad, Jeff.
The second project alone was also much larger than a single program review. In both instances, the feedback on my contributions was explicitly positive, and the quality of my work is evidenced by the fact that I was hired a second time. The question I'm wondering is, did Jeff forget? Did he lie? Or is this just what he chooses to believe? And if Jeff lied, then once again I ask, what else might he lie about?
There's something that people always talk about with Jeff, involving perhaps a needle and a vial. Is he lying about that? Do you guys still trust him about that?
Jeff says that he doesn't align with the drama and gossip I do, and yet he's the one who created it.
Dude, anybody that plays this card whenever things like this happen, I don't like the drama and the gossip, bro. You guys are insufferable, truly, because every time you click on the content, you leave comments about it, so you obviously care. That's my favorite too. I don't care, bro. You took the time to comment. You obviously care to some extent. If you did not care at all, you'd see it for 2 seconds and say, and scroll right past. So you obviously care. People like this get upset whenever someone they like gets called out, then they say, oh, this is drama, bro. How about you stick to informative content? You can't get views without criticizing someone else. Then make actual informative content. It gets a fraction of the views. A lot of you guys are full of shit.
I'm wondering now, which Jeff would like to be behind his slick mask? In another unsolicited, caustic DM, Jeff told me that he considers that the expose on Mike's PhD was petty.
You can interpret it that way if you want to, sure, but like I said, there was so much valid substance in that. Even if you go into the video like, oh, this guy hates Mike, he's talked bad about him. You can talk bad about someone in the past, but if you're making valid points, those are valid points, regardless of whatever perceived agenda there is. Like, the truth is the truth. Reality is reality. But then whenever people are confronted with that, when it's someone they like or are associates with, they're like, oh no, this is just drama and petty, and this isn't fair. It's how people try to write these things off because they have no defense otherwise.
How did he come to that conclusion? If I single-handedly discover that a doctoral thesis is vacuous and that it passed through a system that prides itself on rigor, then how can that be considered petty? For Jeff, it's petty because in Jeff's kingdom of back scratchers, we must support a dismal understanding that we're all constitutionally mediocre. In the fitness industry, we have to accept that academic standards of originality and rigor don't apply.
No, they definitely do not, whether that is to Mike and Jeff or the other side of the so-called science-based crowd too. All of them are the same way. They all talk about the science all the time, but they don't actually apply any rigor or scientific discipline or anything to anything that they talk about. It's very funny. The University of Michigan is where Mike got his undergrad, I think in kinesiology. They also produced Scientific Snitch. They are on opposing sides of the so-called science-based spectrum. At least she will cite a bunch of papers, totally erroneously by the way. She cannot interpret them or put them in proper context at all. She's done that repeatedly for years now, it seems like. At least she will cite something. Mike doesn't cite anything, but they're still really two sides of the same coin of pseudoscience.
If a doctoral thesis was so empty in any other field, then a searching critique of it would not be called petty, but alarming.
I don't even know how true that is, man. Like I said, academia at its core, across the spectrum, is so rotten. I would like to think this is true, but I'm not convinced that it's true, sadly.
Notwithstanding Jeff's flexible standard of what is fair criticism and what's petty, he waxes sanctimonious in the very next sentence of his direct message. As far as I know, fair journalistic standards are to at least reach out to the party before publishing.
He's not a journalist, Jeff. Oh my god.
Do you think that a critic about to write a review of an essay published on the internet by an authoritative source first has to reach out to the author to ask, is that your final version or just a draft?
There's a good chance Mike would not even see that message if Solomon sent it, but assume that he did. Would he even respond? And even if he did, would he be honest in what he replies with? I mean, that entire premise Jeff laid out there, this like journalistic scenario, a complete bullshit.
And then he goes on. So while the draft versus final copy error is understandable, it also could have been avoided.
Yeah, Mike could have actually done decent work, and his committee could have actually reviewed the damn document too. Massive problems on both ends there. Great work, East Tennessee State.
Now that the truth has emerged, I wonder if scientist Jeff is feeling ashamed of himself for his part in bringing the standards down to an even lower level.
I bet he's got no shame at all. And if anything, over the past number of months especially, you could argue in the past as well. But similar to Mike, I had not watched a whole lot of Jeff in the past few years, but watching more of him recently, he has got no shame. He does not care.
Or perhaps he just feels angry with himself, that he miscalculated on a strategic basis. Jeff finished the DM by asking for it all to be kept private. So why would you send unsolicited, caustic DMs and then try to manipulate the recipient into secrecy?
Yeah, this is just entitlement from Jeff. So you're going to send these messages and essentially gaslight Solomon. My god, dude. I mean, this proves yet again Jeff Nippard is not that smart. Like I told you guys. Same with Israetel. Same with so many of these people. Glorified midwits who charm people with their bullshit and the scientific labeling and the marketing.
If he wanted to keep his thoughts to himself, then why did he go out of his way to confront me with all this antagonism?
This is bad politicking on Jeff's part. If you want to keep these messages private, Jeff, you're going to have to include a check with that. And I guess Jeff did not do that. Why would you not do that, Jeff? You've got tons of money. I'm not saying Solomon would take the money to do so, by the way. I'm simply saying, as a principle, if you're going to essentially buy somebody's silence or privacy, you have to buy it. That requires money or some type of payment. And Jeff was like, hey bro, by the way, can you just not talk about this publicly? Despite the fact that I just slapped you in the face? Thanks.
Is it just that Jeff couldn't resist the opportunity for a power play? Or is it something deeper in his psychology that's suddenly become reactive and agitated? I get the feeling that Jeff was eyeballing the denunciation of Mike's thesis with a feeling of personal dread. Before it was revealed that Mike's clean draft was fraudulent, Jeff seemed to identify with Mike's predicament and protested too much. Perhaps he was wondering, how much longer can I go on without being talked about as a talent-free zone?
As far as I know, Jeff has a bachelor's degree, I think in biochemistry. I mean, he's got the book he just released. I guess that could be reviewed as well, but I don't think Jeff has any real, like, kind of formal science that could be dove into, similar to Mike's PhD.
Trafficking platitudes that artfully conceal a gaping emptiness. A void papered over with slick photography and suave production values. Ah, Jeff, you're getting anxious, I can see. And now that you've been caught supporting a denialist fraud, your anxiety must be aggravated.
That is the key word there, fraud. There's no other way to say it. Israetel is a fraud. Trying to come up with any other conclusion at this point, especially after that cover-up, you're just lying to yourself.
When the second revelation was made that I had, in fact, reviewed the one and only relevant version of the PhD that was examined and passed, scientist Jeff did his own bit of shabby cleaning up. He dirty deleted his 2 public posts that sought to make fun of me. And it's not just a matter of Jeff having been impercipient or dull. Rather, it's that he behaved unscientifically and chose to believe what turned out to be a fib.
He seems to behave unscientifically all the time, from what I've seen. Same with Israetel. I would assume the rest of their camp. What we just saw with Milo Sheep too. They all do the same thing.
I want nothing further to do with this gossip-mongering element. Please erase the evidence of every connection that I ever had with it. But when the purported gossip turns out to have been true, indeed, a legitimate and scientifically justified argument, scientist Jeff will find it hard to avoid sharing the disgrace of the cover-up.
I will say this about Jeff Nippard, and I don't think this is being far-fetched. I think after Mike Van Wyck shoved him down, which I think was about a year ago at this point, I think that changed his life. And people can say, oh, well, a real man doesn't resort to that, and it was inappropriate, unacceptable, legal consequences. All of that aside, guys, Jeff Nippard, in spite of his height and his squeaky little voice and all these things, his extremely leftist politics, whatever you want to go at him at, he's still a man. And as a man, he got emasculated. Everybody saw that video. He got shoved down effortlessly with one hand, then he got back up, wasn't even trying to defend himself, got pushed down again. It was an emasculation. There's no other way to really say that. It was really inconsequential in the grand scheme in terms of actual, like, violence. But even so, Jeff got his balls taken, metaphorically, when that happened. And then he went on the internet and publicly posted the image of him at the doctor's, talking about he got the scan done. And if you were to read that and read the reactions in the comments without knowing what happened, you would think that Jeff Nippard was jumped by, like, multiple people or suffered major wounds or something else more violent I can't talk about on YouTube. But if you were to just read that, you would think something extremely dangerous happened to him and that he was, like, on the brink of not being here anymore, or something extremely terrible happened. Then you read about it and you're like, oh, he got shoved down twice and he had to go online and whine about it too. It's like, dude, this guy's a softie. I mean, that's who Jeff Nippard is. So I think when that happened, and Jeff probably saw a lot of the comments similar to what I just said, they were like, dude, he shouldn't have done that, but you are overreacting. I made a video about this too back when it happened. I got plenty of heat when I talked about it too. But let's be real, guys. Jeff was being a complete softie, because that's who he is at his core. He is SAWFT, soft. So that happened, and no matter how you want to spin it, that was very hard for him to mentally deal with. Understandably so, it would be for any man. Or a woman, but especially as a man. And then he saw people commenting like, dude, it's not that big a deal. He saw some people commenting too, I'm sure, in support of Mike, like, yeah, dude, push that little dork down, all that stuff. I think when that happened, it totally turned him. Like, I think this guy has not given a shit for a long time, much longer than many of you realize. Like, he's defended fakes for a long time. You could say he's been a fake himself if you believe that, whatever. He's always been kind of like 1 foot here, 1 foot there, kind of slippery type of guy. He's very good at playing both sides and trying to be like the neutral, good guy in the middle type thing. But I think when the Van Wyck incident happened, that kind of pushed him over the edge and he was like, I don't care anymore. I'm only here for the money. I don't care how I get it.
Yet we return to the central puzzle I posed at the beginning. Why? Why would Jeff Nippard, a former client who repeatedly praised and paid for my expertise, launch such a bizarre, unprofessional, misguided, and intellectually bankrupt attack?
Because no matter how much that you have helped him, he's going to get way more money from doing anything with Mike, just given the difference in influence.
The response from Jeff's quarter was not soberly to embrace academic integrity, but to close ranks in denial for the sake of tribalistic solidarity.
In other words, like I told you guys, Politics.
It demonstrates that for many in this space, science is little more than a brand identity.
Like I told you guys too, I said this verbatim, guys, it is marketing. At the end of the day, that's what this is. It is no more than that. It is not this core process and this guiding belief system like they pretend it is. Science-based, really similar to so-called natural, it's marketing. That's all it is.
A pretentious, tinny shield to hide behind, but one that's quickly discarded in favor of personal allegiances and playground insults when the flimsy foil is justly rattled.
Politics.
My critiques, whether of a flawed program or a questionable PhD, are born from a simple principle. The standards we claim to uphold must actually mean something.
Not when it comes to politics. That's why politics exist, so you can bypass those standards.
Jeff's actions suggest that for him, they don't. While I've now amended the record on my professional relationship with him, as per his petty and revealing request, the more important record, the one showing a leader whose principles collapsed in an uncritical support of a compromised scientific process, now stands corrected for all to see.
He got him. And that was completely justified, and Solomon was right pretty much across the board there. This was well-deserved. But on that note too, Solomon, like I said, gotta bring it up one last time. If you're really about this, you cannot have Greg on in good conscience and not call out the stuff he's done in the past too. I've got plenty of evidence, bro. A lot of people do as well. But Greg Doucette, you know, he's kind of on the good side of history again with this entire thing. Greg Doucette has a laundry list, the Chris Jericho list of 1,004 holds of all the crap he's pulled. So if you're totally about this and dismantling the cliques, you cannot let Greg Doucette walk free when it comes to this. But this has been it for me, guys. Thank you for watching. If you want to get in contact with me about your own training and eating, check out the description box down below. Get your program there as well. I've got them for novices and intermediates. I'm not going to have you do 85% 1RM on the bench for 4x6 like Jeff did. And check out my nutrition guide as well. Learn how to get your body composition and your diet in proper order. Stop wasting your time in the gym and in the kitchen. And you can find testimonials on my site as well. And I will catch you guys next time.